which version are you playing? 3, 3.5, 4,
I think
5?
we're at 5, and if you're wondering, Curse of Innistrad.
Oh yeah, Curse of Strahd is a good one. I recently got my hands on Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and I've really been enjoying reading through that. Some deep stuff right there. Okay then, folks, we are live with another episode of the Sci Fi Power Hour ish. Before we go on further, let's have our panelists introduce themselves. Go ahead, Jewel. Introduce yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Jewelry Moonstar, the Gaming Mage, and I welcome you to the Power Hour. And trust me, we're going to have plenty to talk about soon enough.
That's right.
And this is P Don from Video Game Facts, and it's finally happening, guys. For today's topic for the Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish.
That's right. It is finally happening. And of course, it's...
I was going to say, of course, Mr. Red Fox himself can introduce the topic himself.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, recently in the business court, basically, okayed the Fox-Disney merger. The only caveat is that Fox is going to have to get rid of 22 of their sports stations in the next 3 months.
Sports stations?
Yeah, they're sports channels. They're going to have to get rid of each channel is a station, and they're going to have to get rid of 22 so that they won't have an undue monopoly. Because right now, like 80% of the sports in America have to go through Fox.
Fun!
NFL, NBA. The only other people who have access to, not like 50%. No, more like 40.
I was about to say, the only sports channels that I know that work are Fox and ESPN.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Fox owns 40%, ESPN owns 40%, and together it would be too much of a monopoly. So basically, if their board when they vote says yes, which they have no reason not to say yes, they're going to have to get rid of those stations, which just means there's going to be more competition. Because, whatever.
And besides, who watches sports anyway?
Well, I mean, a lot of people watch sports. I mean, I can't watch football anymore just because after knowing what those players are doing to themselves, like football is one of the most brutal sports you can watch people play, aside from maybe boxing or
it's
MMA.
Like watching car crashes.
Yeah, it's basically like watching repetitive car crashes. And it's like, the primitive primal part of us likes to see violence, like a spectacle. And it's like, wow, this is great. But, the intellectual part of me is like, these people are destroying themselves. Because I've seen football players that I grew up with. Like, I'm 32 years old. I've seen football players that I grew up with. Like, I remember seeing them when they were in their prime. And now they're retired. And, I mean, I saw a dude that was actually a friend of our family, played football for 5 years. He was a linebacker. And literally he's in his 40s. He looks like someone. He moves around like someone in their 90s. Like and not a spry 90-year-old. I mean like sick. Like in bad shape. So yeah, it's hard for me to watch football. I still watch basketball though. So I don't do the football. I know a lot of people are like, well, what about the beautiful game, soccer, football, European football? I don't watch it because it's boring. I played it for 3 years. It's the most boring sport I've ever played.
Oh, and speaking of soccer, I take it you guys are not watching the World Cup?
I heard that Germany lost. Lost to, I think, South Korea or something like that. And some asshole right-wing politician from Germany was like, the reason they lost is because of immigrants. I'm like,
seriously?
Yeah, seriously? Because last year you guys won. So the reason you won last year was because of immigrants? Because a lot of those are the same players from last year.
That's a bridge too far from them.
Yeah, I think you're just using a straw man argument. So when they won last year, was it because of immigrants? If we go by that logic. Was it also because of immigrants? But that's neither here nor there. No, I didn't watch it. The only thing I know about soccer is that it's really popular in third world countries and Europe, internationally, because it's cheap to play. All you need is a ball, and in some cases you don't even need a ball, just something you can kick. And I mean,
and break your foot off on it.
yeah, it's soccer. It's football or footy, as they say in England. I mean, it's the only thing I like about seeing about the World Cup is when someone's home team loses and they start crying, like they had skin in the game, like they're gonna go home and get their ass beat because their team lost. What are you crying for, you pussy?
I feel sorry if they really get beat up for losing.
That's the thing. Like, I'm pretty sure no one's look, unless you made a bet with a bookie, and if you don't pay up, he's gonna break your legs. There's no reason for you to be crying that Team Spain lost or Team Brazil or
Actually, there is one reason, and that reason is if you're ending up wearing a barrel.
I don't know. Like I said, unless they're betting, but I mean,
I said the only reason I think that they'd be crying is if they're having to wear a barrel.
That's about it. That's the only excuse I can think of. Aside from that, there's no reason. I mean, because let me put this way: I've seen some like last year when the Patriots beat the Eagles. No, who did they play last year? Patriots played the Eagles. Not the Eagles. The Seahawks. Shit. No. It was.
Give us a moment. He's trying to be sure that he's getting the information right.
Yeah.
In case any sports fans watching.
Super Bowl 2017. It was the Falcons. The Falcons versus the Patriots, 34-28, and the Falcons basically had the beat for the first 3 quarters, and then the last quarter, those bastards came back and won it. Now see that? I mean, listen. Even that hurt because I hate the New England Patriots. And I was like, I wasn't crying about it. I was just like, we'll get them next year. And I'll be damned the next year, the Eagles beat them. And I was quite happy about that because fuck the Patriots, cheating bastards. But anyway, yeah, they have to get rid of their sports networks because, reasons.
For the record, the opinion of Mr. Red Fox is not shared by all company partners in the podcast.
Well, I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but if you've been caught recording other teams' practices, which is illegal, by the way, twice.
Oh.
Yeah, the New England Patriots.
I can agree on you, F.
They got caught doing that twice, and then the year that they deflated deflated balls, they practiced with underinflated balls. And then they underinflated the balls they were using to basically skew the match in their favor. I mean, you don't think that's a little
fishy?
Fishy, yeah, a little hinky, a little shady.
Makes me wonder who did they pay the ref to not look?
Well, they're cheaters. I mean, it's fairly obvious they're a cheating ass team. The only reason that they get a pass because the Patriots make a lot of money for the Kraft family, and they bring a lot of money into that town. But I hate the Patriots. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So basically, yeah, Fox is going to have to get rid of their sports stations so that they can't, so that there can't be a monopoly. Because basically, if Fox and keeps those stations and merges like their entertainment division, which includes their movies and television content,
skyrockets,
merges with Disney, which owns ESPN, that means that like 95% of like your sports channels will be, you can only go to Disney for it, which is just, that's too much. So
I mean, Disney is not interested in getting Fox's sports channels either way.
No, they could care less about it. But the thing is, I'm just saying, for consumers, for people who are into sports, whether it be boxing, MMA, NFL, NBA, football, football international, European football, golf, curling, the Olympics. Like basically, you can't have Fox basically and Disney hold all that shit together. Like you can't have that. So basically, what's going on is that essentially, like if the merger goes through, which I mean, unless something major happens, it probably will go through. They're gonna have to get Fox is gonna have to sell off those TV stations, which is good because you can't have all of the sports channels basically be under Disney. Like that's a oligopoly. Because there are a few independent sports channels that do local stuff, but by and large, most of them are, like ESPN or Fox. Right. So basically, but enough about that. We're going to talk about what Disney really wants, which is all the television that Fox has. The Married with Children, The Simpsons, Futurama.
I was about to say,
I think they sold
those
Futurama.
aged shows.
They sold Futurama to Viacom, I think.
I was saying all those are aged shows as far as I heard.
Let's not forget King of the Hill and Family Guy.
Dang it, Bobby! Dang it!
I had it wrong because I just knew what was going to be said next.
Dang
that
it,
boy
Bobby!
ain't right.
Peggy Hill, who has the worst Spanish ever. I'm the Spanish teacher. You can't speak Spanish. You're terrible. Like this is coming from someone.
Different language.
This is coming from someone who took Spanish for like
ages.
Well, I started taking Spanish in the 5th grade, and I continued every year almost until I was in except for 6th grade and 7th grade. But every year after that, I was taking Spanish. So basically, I took Spanish and I took it in college. And here's the thing: I never really went to a Spanish-speaking country and had to use Spanish, but I have had moments where someone was speaking Spanish around me, and I could tell they were talking about me. And then I responded to them in Spanish, and they were like, "Oh shit!" It's a very interesting experience when you do that. But yeah. Peggy Hill, her Spanish is terrible. It's terrible. It's nonsense Spanish. And the worst thing is that she, her heart's in the right place. She really wants to teach Spanish. And if only she would actually just get a real Spanish-speaking person to say, "Como se dice?" in Espanol. Yeah, como se dice in Espanol? Well, here's the thing. For the first 2 years when I was really taking Spanish seriously, I learned Spanish, Castilian Spanish, which is Spain Spanish, Española, Española Spanish, which is from Spain. So that's why I say como se dice, even though it's dice. But then there's then there's Spanish from Mexico, and South America, which is slightly different. But I mean, if you know Spanish, Castilian or Mexican, you can understand each other. You're just gonna be weird. Is that a V or a B? What? But
yeah, if you're wondering, it's how you say it that can make a difference.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on how Japanese business language goes.
The way Spanish in Spain and Mexico is about as different as English here in the US and UK.
It's not that far. I would say that comparison is like Portuguese versus Spanish, because they're both Romance languages. The difference is that there's just certain words, and the Portuguese will never admit this, and neither will the Spanish. But if you listen to someone who's speaking Portuguese and someone who's speaking Spanish from Spain, a lot of the root words are the same. a lot of the things that they say about each other, like how they use certain words, how they talk about certain foods, it's all the same. But the difference is, of course, they have a rivalry against each other, a notorious rivalry against each other, so they'll never admit it. But I mean, basically, yeah. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, Disney wants that content. They want that sweet content.
Shows to play on, right?
And
service.
For their streaming service. So basically, you can get The Simpsons. You're going to get The Simpsons. And maybe, I'm not sure about Futurama, the Orville, definitely all those box shows that came on, the X-Files, all that stuff on one streaming service. Probably not everything at the same time. It'll probably be like Netflix where they cycle stuff around. So yeah. It's going to be and that's what Fox wants. That's what Disney wants. They want that content, because it's not enough to have Degrassi High and and Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana and
High School Musical,
and of course MICKY. MOUSC in the Mickey Mouse Club, because I remember when I was a little kid, like I used to watch the Family Channel, which was a derivative of the Disney Channel, and basically all they'd show late at night was like old Disney stuff. Like they'd show old Disney nature docudramas, and occasionally you'd get that really racist version of Fantasia. with the slave centaur, the slave black centaur, which Disney just wants to bury so deep and never let anyone admit that. But I'm just gonna let you know a little secret, folks. Walt Disney, racist bastard, and an anti-Semite.
Glad that he's in the ground for some things like this.
A real piece of shit human being.
He's also anti-communist.
I don't necessarily give a shit about communists, or should I say socialists, because there's a difference. But anyway, yeah. Walt Disney, raging piece of shit. And if anyone says, but look, listen, go watch the original Dumbo with those jive talking crows. Or Song of the South. Yeah, I'm so happy I'm in slavery. And that was pushed through by Walt Disney.
That took place after the Civil War, though.
That was, yeah, but it was like, the whole point about Song of the South is that basically Uncle Remus is this person who's like, times were much simpler and better during the times of slavery when we were taken care of. And I'm like, Negro, they were beating your ass. I'm sorry, you are enslaved people, you stupid bastard. Like, it's this very idealized version of the South, which is,
amusing for some of us that know what the South really did.
Yeah, once you know the history of slavery in the South, it's like, I can't really watch this romanticized. And here's the thing: I know some people to say, well, it was just a series of, it was basically the Brer Rabbit stories retold. But the Brer Rabbit stories are not traditional African stories of slaves. They're the stories that the Native Americans of the Southeast shared with some of the escaped slaves, about their basically their cultural mythological creatures, like the trickster of those tribes of Indians was the swamp rabbit or the hare, which, I mean, Warner Brothers was smart enough that they took that character and they transformed him. They transformed him into a relatively tall, smart-ass rabbit who also cross-dresses. But if you follow the original mythology, the swamp hare, the trickster swamp hare in the Creek Indian folklore, he also cross-dresses in order to get out of tough situations. So, I mean, really, the character still exists. He's just, he's a real bastard, too. Just like he is in the story. But yeah, that's what Disney wants. They want that sweet content. But how does this gonna affect the audience?
It may range from meh to why do I have to watch Disney in order to watch something adult?
I mean, some of the stuff you can get, it's still going to be physical media. I think, I'm not 100% sure. I think that Disney is going to, some of this stuff that's like maybe less appropriate for Disney streaming service is probably going to continue to be put out in other places. Like, you might see it on Netflix. You might see it on other streaming services, but it's probably going to cost more, or they'll probably have more control over it or something. I don't know. Or Disney just might let Fox like make a subsidiary brand that's like Fox Unlimited, that's kind of like a streaming service within of itself that you can buy, or a channel called Fox Unlimited that has all that shit. I don't know. That's just my guess. I'm not 100% sure.
And I'm also wondering how is Legion and New Mutants Legion and the other X-Men TV show is gonna be affected.
That shit's probably gonna be canceled. Maybe no. Legion is pretty good, but that other shit is probably gonna get. If it's not good, it's probably gonna get canceled. Like the Dark Phoenix, that shit, that shit's done. It might be released. It might be a direct-to-video movie. And you know what? That's good.
I know. I'm not talking about New Mutants. I'm talking about the other X-Men TV show.
Oh, you mean the original, like back in the day from the 90s?
No, not that one. I mean the one that came after Legion.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, if the shows are getting ratings, then they will continue. If it's something that people are like, fuck this, it's probably going to get canned. So, I mean, I know some people are going to get angry because I know they're fans of all that, but.
And does Legion have any connections to the X-Men movies?
Not the movies, but the universe. Because basically, the guy who is the main character of Legion is the son of Charles Xavier and Shiara, the princess of the Talshar Empire. I forgot his name, but he's basically like a super mutant. Like, he's even more powerful than Charles Xavier, his mother, and Magneto combined. Like, he's super powerful. And he's so powerful that his powers threatened to destroy him. So his father and his mother had to use their combined psychic abilities to lock his powers away. That's all I know about Legion. Like, I don't know much about the character aside from that. Just, like I said, you get more out of X-Men the more you know about it, which is why when the material's handled badly, it pisses off fans of the material. It's like, no, you fucked up right there. Which is why, speaking of the IPs being mishandled, the audiences. So what do you guys think the various audiences of the IPs? I guess we'll start with X-Men. I'll be right back. I gotta go take care of something real quick.
So starting with the X-Men, I'm pretty sure that Disney's going to pretty sure that Marvel Studios is going to reboot the entire series, but instead of making their own movies, they'll try to make it its own TV show.
Which works so well with Spider-Man, with how many reboots it has.
I mean, in a similar vein to their Netflix shows like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, or as well as the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. Because there's so many X-Men characters, it's impossible to develop them all under one movie.
True. Pardon. But as I said, rebooting some things can work pretty well, like Spider-Man to a certain degree. I said to a certain degree because
the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man has really dropped the ball at times. Hard.
Not to mention that its sequel repeated the same mistakes as Spider-Man 3. Cramming in as many villains as possible. which is not a good idea.
Yeah, highly. Though,
But
if
I do
anything,
wonder if they're going to use Wolverine star in the TV show or on the MCU movies, since he's too popular.
I say they at least they'll try to give him one movie or one TV show at the least. But
Because
that's a stretch considering how much of a fan favorite this guy is. And this is remembering that he can lose to Cyclops.
but we could also see the iconic battle between him and Hulk, just like in the original comics. His debut.
True. Though, if you ask me, Hulk can easily turn Wolverine into a pretzel.
Yeah, because Hulk is strong as he is.
Yeah. Though, as I said, it will either be one TV series or one movie. It can't be both because he isn't.
And of course,
Because he may be popular, but he's grown out of favor in a sense.
And I also wonder if it's going to take place from the Deadpool universe or its own universe.
If it's in the Deadpool universe, oh god, he's gonna have headaches. Because I can only imagine Deadpool messing him up.
Right. So in this case, I suspect that the X-Men TV series will be a TVMA. So that will be in the same vein as the Deadpool universe with all the swearing and blood.
That's helpful.
So in other words, be more like the Netflix Marvel shows.
Yeah. Though, if anything, that's a hope. Though, if anything, going from Wolverine to the next group, which probably be the X-Men themselves. What do you think?
Let's see. So a solo movie of Wolverine before going to the X-Men? Is that what you're saying?
I was saying we could move on. We could say that we covered Wolverine himself, but what about the X-Men?
Oh, the X-Men themselves, basically a TV show, as I stated before, because
there's so many characters to work with, right?
Yeah. And perhaps the TV show will also be more of a soap opera to differentiate itself from the other Netflix Marvel shows.
Yeah, if anything, I actually missed the old X-Men cartoon, and if they go the TV series route with the new X-Men reboots, then that would be a real treat, especially if they do it right.
Yeah, the 90s cartoon was a complete soap opera with like one mutant being related to another mutant and one mutant being related.
There's some kind of connection all over the place, like how one gets their powers from another in a sense.
Yeah. Like how they made Nightcrawler related to Mystique, and how they handwave that and how they joke that Nightcrawler might be related to Beast, even though that wasn't true.
I was about to say, how the heck did they get that by this writing crew?
And of course, the obligatory Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch related to Magneto from the comics until it was retconned.
Yeah, and I just remembered one of those characters, I think they were in Avengers Age of Ultron, right?
Yep.
Oh god, that will be a mess to clean up if they bring them up.
Right. Well, they could not be related to Magneto in the MCU since they already changed their origins from the comics.
Yeah, but I was saying that if they bring them back, that will be a can of worms.
Oh yes, because since any Marvel character who's dead on screen stays dead.
Unless it's a past, unless it's a past timeline, meaning
Right.
that meaning that they have meaning that their story is set to a certain death note. And that means the only story that can go on is if they go into the past about it. Or if they pull a Deadpool and go back in time and fix things.
You must be talking about X-Men.
Right.
Yeah, we moved on from Wolverine to the X-Men.
Yeah, I think the only way they could actually bring it into the Marvel universe, because that's what Kevin Feige wants. I think Kevin Feige's in the shadows, like, man, if I can get my hands on the X-Men and Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four, man, I could do so much more with this. Yeah, I think the only way they could actually bring it into the universe is if whatever they do, they're going to have to build it around the team and not just Wolverine, because that's kind of like what brought the X-Men movies down, because they catered so much to Wolverine when there's all these other fantastic characters who are way more interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that the X-Men should go around all the characters that live there at the Xavier College.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got Cyclops, Jean, Beast, Nightcrawler, Iceman, Colossus, Shadowcat.
And I did mention earlier that this should be a bit of a past relation series, because, well, there's a few characters that might be iffy to put in if they're putting in those characters of the past. And
yeah,
I'm talking about two characters that died in Age of Ultron.
You mean
Quicksilver?
Quicksilver? I mean, with the ending of Infinity War, with the time gem and stuff like that, and reality gem, you could change all that. Like, that could all be changed.
Reminded me on that.
Yeah.
It's just that I was remembering that until the history thing is altered or the like, then that's going to be a touchy subject.
They could be like, this is an alternate reality. This is, like, you could have those characters brought into the MCU, and it's like, she's like, my brother's dead. Well, this is the other reality's Quicksilver. He's your brother from another reality, and that could work. You could totally have Pietro return, although they don't have to have that almost incestuous thing going on with Pietro and Wanda, because it's like borderline, like he's kind of.
And I also don't see that happening, because it'll mess up the grounded realism that the MCU established since the beginning.
What grounded realism? They have a man who can turn into a something smaller than an ant. You've got a green rage Hulk monster. You've got gods.
Well, I mean, science-based grounded realism.
And this, look, incest happens in the real world too. But I mean, obviously they wouldn't do that.
No, I mean, I'm talking about like bringing dead people back to life by bending reality and stuff.
It could. I mean, like, here's the thing. In the comics, they have brought back so many characters that were dead. Like, it's at this point, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Death is meaningless in a sense.
Yeah, the only character who has stayed dead is Gwen Stacy, and they created an alternate version of Gwen Stacy that was bitten by the radioactive spider, not Peter Parker, who's Spider-Gwen. So either way, they can find a way to.
What about the Gwen Stacy clone?
There's a Gwen Stacy clone. There's a Mary Jane clone. There's all types of clones, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying, like, that's the one thing, like, Stan Lee's and Jack Kirby were like, we're never going to bring back Gwen Stacy, because her death is such a major character moment for Peter Parker. And it is, if you know anything about the Spider-Man mythos and the history of the character.
Right.
But you know, it's like you're never going to bring back Thomas and Martha Wayne because them being dead is such a major event for Bruce Wayne. Consequently, for a character like Superman, the major thing that molds him into who he is basically Jonathan and Martha Kent. Because really, he's a baby when he leaves Krypton, so he has no real memory of
Family.
of his birth parents. He has no real memories of his birth parents. But if like, there's been numerous things where like he doesn't land in Smallville, Kansas. He lands in Russia or someplace else, and he's raised by different people. And basically, who he's raised by is such a major point into what type of character he becomes. But that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, X-Men's going to be awesome. I want to see what Feige's going to do to get the X-Men into the MCU, because at this point he's going to have them in the MCU.
Probably as a TV show, because there's so many X-Men characters to focus on. Unless they get their own solo films. For some reason.
I think if he's going to introduce them, it's probably going to be in something like an event film where they have some major catastrophe and the superheroes are going to have to help out. And then maybe like it says in New York, and it shows like the Xavier School of the Gifted, and they're helping out in some type of catastrophe. And people like, no, they have powers. And look at the bright side, they can finally use fucking mutants. They don't have to say they're special, they're gifted. It's like you're a mutant. And I mean, just for my personal edification, I just want to see a good Fantastic Four movie. Please God, a good Fantastic Four movie.
That's a monkey's paw wish you're asking for, but
they'll probably cancel the planned Doctor Doom movie.
Good. Doctor Doom is such an iconic character. I don't want just Joe Blow anybody making a Doctor Doom.
That movie.
Yeah, because Doctor Doom is such an important character to the Marvel universe, to the comics. Like, and no one has done Doctor Doom right yet, except for the the '94 Roger Corman film. But every other Doctor Doom incarnation has been shit. The Tim Story one was shit. The one from 2015, Fantastic Four stick, that Doctor Doom was shit. And they keep on giving us a shit. Like, each iteration of Doctor Doom is shittier.
Because they need another major villain after Thanos.
I mean, wouldn't it be interesting in the next phase everything is just all masterminded by Doctor Doom? Now that would be a very interesting way to bring Doctor Doom into the MCU. They're like, so you mean to tell me, like, everything in the next phase, all these catastrophes are going off where they introduce new characters and a new team of the Avengers and all this stuff. Everything's masterminded by the notorious Victor Von Doom. And that could be a great way to introduce the Fantastic Four.
And will he use his finger lasers?
I mean, he can use, like, the thing about Doctor Doom, he's such a catch-all character. Like, he has a suit that has all types of mechanical devices in it, but it also lets him do magic. Plus, he also has a gun that he uses to shoot people with, like a Luger in some incarnations. Another one, it's a Romashev. I don't know, but
just because hoping that the MCU will pay homage to his fighting moveset from the Marvel vs. Capcom games.
I prefer Doctor Doom to be like Thanos. Like, how like they built up Thanos, and it's like basically you got this sense that if he has to get personally involved in shit, it's gonna go really, really bad. Like that's how Doctor Doom is. Like if Doctor Doom has to personally fight you, shit has gotten real.
If not, he just summons his Doom bots.
He'll send Doom bots. He'll send his henchmen. He'll send Madame Mask, but he's not gonna go himself.
He's not getting off that throne unless he is pissed at you.
Yeah, because if he has to go himself, shit just got real. It's kind of like whenever a person in your family who you're really scared of gets serious, you know shit has gotten real. That's the general gist of Doctor Doom. It's like, oh shit, we done fucked up now.
So, if anything, I consider the ways he gets out of being defeated cheap as
Yeah. Although one of the reasons I like Luke Cage, and one of the episodes of Luke Cage, aka Power Man, essentially he does a job for Doctor Doom, Hero for Hire, and Doctor Doom stiffs him on his payment. He fights his way into Latveria and beats the shit out of all these Doom bots, and he grabs Doctor Doom by the throat. He's like, "Give me my money, motherfucker!" Well, he doesn't curse out because Luke Cage doesn't curse. Like when he wants to say his exclamation is "Sweet Christmas." He's like, "Give me my money." One of the reasons I like Luke Cage. But yeah, I like it. I really think it's going to go really awesome. I think that basically these movies, we have a chance for these characters to show up. Like you could easily have Silver Surfer show up in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or Galactus show up in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. You could have Namor show up in a Avengers movie or one of the spinoffs. Like, it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to love it because it's going to be so cool.
Ooh, what about the Savage Lands?
Give or take?
The thing about the Savage Lands is that they aren't really useful unless you have mutants go there. Like, normal humans or people who have superpowers, it doesn't really matter. I mean, because here's the thing: if a mutant goes to the Savage Lands, they revert back into a normal human person. Like mutant powers don't work there. If people with superpowers go there and they're like natural superpowers, then those powers go dormant. And like for someone like Charles Xavier, he can walk again because apparently his paralysis is mental. I don't know. I don't. It's weird. He's been walking and lost his ability to walk so many times. It's not even funny. But
I was gonna say his psychic power is so strong that paralyzes his body.
Because I'm hoping to see Devil Dinosaur in the MCU.
At least that's what I'm getting at.
I want to see Mr. Sinister and the Hellfire Club and Magneto's Brotherhood. I want to see a Meteor M movie. Give us a Meteor M movie. That movie would be awesome. Because then
probably give reason why Magneto and the Brotherhood aren't on Earth this whole time because they were on Meteor M.
Yeah, and you could have Magneto. You could show Magneto in a flashback levitating Meteor M. Then him getting beat up and betrayed and hurled to Earth. And that's when the mutants who betrayed Magneto fucked up. Because when Magneto gets back on the Meteor M, woo boy. Somebody's in deep doo-doo. Deep. And yes, I know I'm a grown man, but
some things sound better if you say it in a silly way.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of I really want to see these IPs done right. I want to see them. I want to see how Kevin Feige and the team and the creative team at Marvel, the cinematic portion of it, put things together. I would love for there to be more Netflix-like TV shows. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you had a darker, grittier Netflix TV show that was like the X-Men, but you actually could have cursing and blood? Because at the end of the day, these people are have superpowers, and they are like, if you're like Wolverine, Wolverine's just straight up killing people. That's why Logan did well, because, I mean, the dude has adamantium claws. He's killing people. So, I guess we can move on to the next topic.
Is a free topic or the various movie fan? Oh, the free topic then.
Yeah, we kind of went over the various movie franchises. So it's free topic time, which is basically just a fancy word for saying we're going to be talking about stuff that we would like to see.
Random stuff. But if anything, I gotta at least say this: you were right in calling out the BS of saying is Zelda was what killed Andromeda.
Oh yeah, I had to do that. I had to call it out because it was total and complete bullshit. It was a straw man argument. It's like, pay no attention to the actual problems here. You know.
I was gonna say, this wasn't our fault. It was the fault of the person at the end of the road. Whoop.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm currently finding a free topic to discuss about.
And if anything, it is a slow news day, so.
Well, we can continue talking about BioWare. I mean, basically, their argument is that, well, the reason that that Mass Effect Andromeda sucked was because that it didn't sell well is because it was like, initially the argument was, well, there was a lot of competition, and the competition is what kind of brought things down. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Competition, yeah, whatever.
I was going to say, isn't that a typical line that some people use when they say that their game is in a crowded space?
Well, I mean, there was competition for that quarter. There was a lot of competition. I was going to
say, if it was crowded for their specific kind of game, I can understand that.
Well, for them to say that it was Breath of the Wild is the reason, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because Breath of the Wild wasn't on, like, your game wasn't on the platform that Breath of the Wild came out on. Like,
that's another thing.
People who had a Wii U or a Switch weren't like, okay, I can either get Breath of the Wild or I can get Mass Effect Andromeda, because Mass Effect Andromeda wasn't on the Wii U or the Switch.
And so any Mass Effect game, it was only one, and that was for the Wii U. And if I remember right, that was a
shitty port.
How can I?
It was a crappy port.
I was going to try to be nice about it, because the other systems had the trilogy. Well, the Wii U only got one.
That's right, and it didn't even have all the content. Like, we didn't have access. We like, if you own the Wii U version of Mass Effect Andromeda, you're never going to get any of the DLC. You're never going to get the post-game content. Like, basically, they screwed us over as gamers. But I mean, it's EA, so there's nothing. That's what EA does.
2 days ago was the 20th anniversary of Banjo-Kazooie.
And if I had played a good Banjo-Kazooie game, oh wait, I did. It was called Ukulele.
Very funny. If anything,
there was supposed to be announcements for merchandises and interviews to celebrate, but then Rare announced on their Twitter that it got delayed to next week.
Yeah, whatever.
One day.
I don't.
If anything, I remember I still have both Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie.
Yeah, I don't trust Rare right now. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I know some
And
people are
that's
gonna
a
get.
short distance.
No, I'm pretty strong, but I still don't trust them.
As I
I
said, that's a
don't.
short distance.
I don't trust Rare because they have not. Rare has not made a good game in years. And I stand by that. You know,
That I believe in you on, because seriously, what has their record been since they went to Microsoft?
let's see. They did Banjo Nuts and Bolts, which was terrible. They did they did Banjo. They did Conker's Bad Fur Day, Live and Reloaded. Which here's an irony for you, right? The big hook for Live and Reloaded was that it would be playable on the Xbox Live, so you'd have a really good online experience, right? The online frequently failed on people who were playing multiplayer. So you could do local 2-player, but multiplayer online wasn't that good. The best version of Conquer to play is on the N64 versus the one that was on the next gen hardware, because they censored the next gen hardware one.
And facepalm.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you mess that up? Well, it's Rare under Microsoft, so if there's a way to mess something up, they will find it because that's what they do. And they're doing a Battletoads game, which is probably gonna suck because it's Rare.
Oh, Rare's not making the new Battletoads game. It's being outsourced.
I'm just saying that, you know, if it's Microsoft, if it's Rare, like most of the games they've announced have not been very good. Like that have come out have not been good at all. So I'm not surprised. Like I don't have faith. I don't have faith in Rare. You know, I used to, not anymore. I wish it was different, but
Here's some other news that was given to one of our contributors. Google is going to be releasing a new gaming platform.
Allegedly, we don't know if it's true. If they do, that'll be cool, but it's probably going to be some Android-based shit, which is going to suck. Because I mean, come on, Android-based platforms.
And Nintendo responded as to why the 3DS was absent from this year's E3.
Oh, I gotta hear this, because if anything, I already heard something stupid about Sony.
So according to Doug Bowser, we really wanted to focus on Switch here. We felt we had so much content available. You've been down on the floor. You've seen all of the great games, not only from Nintendo, but also from our third-party providers. We wanted to make sure that we really gave the attention to Nintendo Switch. It is a phenomenon right now. It is a fast-growing platform, and we wanted to make sure we gave it that recognition on the floor. So basically, they wanted to focus more on the Switch this time around.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm gonna say something, and some people might get upset, but I don't really care. This is a little preview for tomorrow's BS Busters. The new president of Nintendo says that they're going to make a 3DS successor. I'm not surprised because, like I said, the Switch is a wonderful console hybrid, but at the end of the day,
it's a console and not a handheld.
It doesn't have the features that a handheld would have. And if you're the Pokemon company, they're like, we're going to put a mainline Pokemon game on the Switch. You're going to alienate the 50 million people that are playing Pokemon on the, well, not 50, let's say 25 million people that are playing Pokemon on the 3DS.
Well, Falcon Launch is going to disagree with you on that one.
Who?
Falcon Launch, one of our contributors to the podcast.
Well, he can disagree all he wants to. Okay, let me put it this way. I guarantee you that a mainline Pokemon game on the Switch isn't going to sell as well as a Pokemon game that's on the
Handheld.
Handheld, because the Switch has a higher price point. Like you can, if you just want to play just Pokemon games, because there are people who own Nintendo handhelds, and the only thing they have on their handheld are just Pokemon games. You can get a cheap 3DS right now. 2DS. You can get a 2DS right now for like $70. Okay, and just start getting Pokemon games, even used for like $25, $30. I mean, it's cheap. It's an easy buy-in.
Especially with the new 2DS.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to get a Switch, I mean, if you want to get a if you want to get a Switch, it's $300. You know, if you're like, man, I really want to get Pokemon Go, Pokemon Let's Go for the Switch. Okay, that's one Switch. Okay, fair enough. You already have a Switch. Cool. But
not to mention that Pokemon Let's Go has local multiplayer, so no need for.
Yeah, you don't need two Switches. But if you don't have a Switch, that's a $300 buy-in.
And that's before going for the 2 games in total, which would be $1,100.
$1,100 for 2 games? That doesn't make any sense.
Or I mean, 11 or 1,200. I mean, 11 or 12. I mean, 1,100 or I mean, I'm sorry, I'm goofing my numbers a little. It would be $60 per edition, so that's $120, and the plus is an extra $50.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just a little too, hey, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be so easy. I'm like, I don't think you understand how this works. But that's just me. You know, I could be wrong.
Let's see. Should we expect the successor to arrive on 2020 or 2021?
I think it's gonna be 20.
Holiday 2020.
I think it's gonna be 2020. Yeah.
I said holiday 2020.
No, they might do another release like they did with the Switch, which was in the spring.
So you think spring 2020?
Or they might announce it on a separate direct outside of E3, like they did with the Switch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They might do what they did with the Switch. So it might be, because like, here's the thing. Okay, whatever they do, they're gonna want to get that 3DS crowd. So they'll probably what I'm thinking their next handheld probably going to be is probably something that uses ARM software just like the 3DS does. It's probably going to have a good price point, maybe $150, $200. 150 between 150 and 200 will be the sweet spot. And it'll probably be backwards compatible. The first one will probably be backwards compatible with the 3DS, along with the new games. And I think the price point will still be like $39 to $49 for the games. But that's just me, you know. What do I know? I'm just some guy.
Oh yeah, and the Crash Insane trilogy came out 2 days ago, on the same day as Banjo-Kazooie's 20th anniversary.
I don't know what to say except meh. I don't know. I just don't. I just don't.
Say, if the game came out pretty well, then you could at least understand where some of it could go.
And I've been hearing that Nintendo's still continuing on fighting on banning pirated Switch games from online features.
That's their prerogative.
Oh, and Todd Howard has something to say about Sony blocking all the crossplay features for Fallout 76.
They're disappointed.
Here's what he says. In a video interview with German website GamerStar.de, Bethesda Game Studios director and executive producer Todd Howard is directly asked about crossplay for this year's Fallout game, Fallout 76. We would love to do that, Howard said, but right now that's not possible. Howard pauses for a second and then begins, Sony isn't being helpful as we want them to be. It is not clear if there will be crossplay between either console and the PC for that matter, but as of right now, it is definitely not happening between the two console versions themselves. So, in other words, there will be no crossplay on Fallout 76 because of Sony's policy. Anyone else wants to add to this?
And people are surprised why. I mean, like,
I'd say this much: Sony knows that they're in a bad spot, and they want to try to keep everyone on their system by saying, "This is our system, and if you want to play on their systems, we got something for you: a big red X."
I'm not going to go that far. Here's the thing. Sony has the biggest install base right now. Even with the Switch selling game busters.
Install base.
Okay. Not because the PS4 is a good system, but because, oh shit, Jewel left. But because the PS4, because Microsoft messed up. With that being said, I mean, essentially, you know, I like the PS4, I do, but you know, they messed up, and when they messed up, I mean, there's nothing much we can really say except, you know, there's nothing.
And it looks like we're out of time now that Joel is out.
Yeah, so basically, that's the end of the podcast. If you want to hear more video game talk, video game news, head over to subscribe to Mr. Red Fox on YouTube because we will be having BS Busters tomorrow at 7:30 to 9 o'clock EST. So look forward to that. Anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up, Pinky?
Oh yes, I just recently posted an article on VGF called telling why Generation 2 is not the best generation.
Fair enough.
And that's all. And that is all I had to say. So tomorrow I'm gonna be posting an entry for Smash Sunday where I rate people's character predictions based on current information, how the roster is gonna be organized, and how long the game was planned recently, which we now know was back in December 2015.
Fair enough.
And that'll be all.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox. I had a couple of videos come out this week. One about how basically RPGs these days are very lackluster, because in my opinion they are, and the other one that's essentially about how essentially the statement that the reason Mass Effect Andromeda didn't fare that well critically and commercially is because of Breath of the Wild, which is just ridiculous. So those videos are on my not my website, my YouTube channel. Remember, Mr. Red Fox. That's my YouTube handle. If you can't find me, you can always find BS Busters or the Sci Fi Power Hour ish. So that's the end of the podcast. Jewel, give your sign off.
Glad I got here in time.
Yeah.
Sign off. Thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is Joy Moonstar, wishing you all a good night and hopefully a good game.
All right. And see you in the podcast. Thank you and have a good night.